Imagine replacing your uncle as a taxi driver just to keep him from losing everything, only to pick up a millionaire CEO who would change your life forever. Jade Carson, a 19-year-old girl from a struggling background, found herself face to face with Christopher Blake, a man accustomed to power and privilege after her uncle's injury left their family on the brink of collapse. When she impressively navigated a harrowing drive in a storm, little did she know that this chance encounter would lead to a life-altering opportunity. Stay tuned to witness how one twist of fate can turn desperation into hope. Jade Carson pressed the phone tightly against her ear, her heart racing as she listened to her Uncle Tom's frail voice on the other end of the line. "I can't lose my license or my job, Jade. I have nothing left," he pleaded, desperation evident in his tone. It was close to midnight, and in her cramped studio apartment, the flickering overhead bulb cast eerie shadows across an overdue stack of bills that lay scattered on the rickety coffee table. Jade took a shaky breath, wrestling to keep her voice steady. "Uncle Tom, we'll figure something out. You're not going to lose everything," she reassured him, though her own anxiety gnawed at her. A ragged cough crackled through the phone as Tom continued. "I've spent my entire life driving a taxi through the bustling streets of Westbridge City. I can't afford to lose my medallion. If I don't get back on the road soon, they'll give it to someone else." Jade clenched her free hand, her nails digging into her palm as she recalled the countless nights Uncle Tom had worked double shifts to provide for her after her parents had passed away. He had always been there for her, saying, "I'll take care of you, kiddo, somehow, someway." Now, it was her turn to support him. "Maybe I can fill in for you," she suggested slowly, her voice wavering slightly. Uncle Tom let out a dry, humorless chuckle. "Honey, you're 19 and female. Guys at the taxi depot aren't going to make it easy for you." Swallowing her fear, Jade replied, "But I have a regular driver's license. If I can get a temporary hack license or some form of permission, I might be able to drive your taxi while you recover. They said you have a couple of weeks before they make a final decision, right?" Tom hesitated before conceding. "They did, but this is a cutthroat industry. They can pull my medallion any day if someone else bribes them for it." Jade took a steadying breath, her mind racing with possibilities. She knew the hours would be punishing and the dangers of driving a cab were real, but compared to letting her uncle lose his livelihood, she had to try. "We'll make them stick to that timetable. I'll call the taxi company first thing in the morning. Just hang in there." After hanging up, Jade paced her tiny apartment, her heart hammering in her chest. She couldn't shake the anxiety swirling within her about money and her uncertain future, but for Uncle Tom, she had to do this. The next morning, she woke at dawn, dressed in her cleanest t-shirt and jeans, and caught a city bus across town to the Westbridge Taxi Company's depot. The depot was a dingy lot packed with yellow cabs, and the office was a converted trailer that had seen better days. A man in a stained vest leaned in the doorway, puffing on a cigarette. "You lost?" he asked, flicking ash onto the gravel. "I'm looking for the manager." "Name's Murphy," Jade replied, her nerves snapping like live wires. The man shrugged and jerked his thumb toward the door. Inside, she found a cramped space that reeked of stale coffee. A burly man with salt and pepper hair sat behind a metal desk piled high with paperwork. The nameplate read, "Walter Murphy." "Yeah?" he said, eyeing her wearily. Jade inhaled deeply, summoning her courage. "I'm Jade Carson. My Uncle Tom Carson has been driving for you for nearly 30 years. Murphy frowned. "I know Tom. Shame about his back. He can't drive, so why are you here?" "I want to fill in for him until he recovers," Jade said, setting her shoulders. His eyebrows shot up. "You? You're just a kid." "I'm 19 and legally allowed to drive," she asserted. "I know I need a hack license, but the city ordinance allows a temporary taxi driving permit under extenuating circumstances. I looked it up." She offered him a printed form from the municipal website. Murphy scanned it unimpressed. "I'm not sure how many female drivers you've seen around here, kid, but it's not exactly a friendly environment." "I don't care," Jade said, her voice trembling with determination. "Uncle Tom can't lose his medallion. I'll pass whatever test or training you have." He leaned back in his chair, rolling a toothpick between his teeth. He has about 2 weeks left of guaranteed hold on that medallion. If you can get the city to issue you the license in that time, I won't stop you. But if you slip up, I'll revoke your privileges on the spot. Understood, Jade said, relief flooding through her. That night, she called Uncle Tom to deliver the news. His voice was a mix of relief and fear. Just be careful out there, honey. It's a tough world behind that wheel. Little did Jade know, stepping behind the wheel of that taxi would steer her life onto an entirely different road, one that would lead straight into the path of a stranger capable of unraveling her struggles and reshaping her dreams. Network error. The next several days were a whirlwind of paperwork, municipal regulations, and crash courses in taxi driving. Jade had to pass a defensive driving test, memorize local ordinances, and demonstrate that she could handle the relentless stress of urban traffic. It felt like cramming for final exams, but the stakes were higher. Failure could cost her uncle everything. Finally, just in time, she was issued a provisional hack license, valid for 30 days. That same afternoon, she reported to the taxi depot with the slip in hand, trying to ignore the sidelong glances from the middle-aged drivers who eyed her with skepticism. "You Tom's niece?" one of them asked. "He's a good guy, but do you know what you're getting into?" Jade forced a polite smile. "I'm about to find out." Murphy tossed her a set of keys to a battered yellow cab that had definitely seen better days. The driver's seat felt stiff beneath her as she fiddled with the meter, the radio, and the flimsy plastic partition behind her. A faint odor of stale French fries lingered in the air, and the floor mat was riddled with cigarette burns. "Glamorous," she muttered to herself, trying to quell her nerves. Her first day on the job involved hours of slow cruising, picking up random fares, and learning which neighborhoods yielded the best tips and which ones to avoid after dark. She quickly discovered that rush hour traffic was maddening, that drunk passengers could be either hilarious or terrifying, and that the hum of the city never truly stopped. Despite the stress, Jade felt a strange surge of pride each time she completed a fare without incident. She was driving for a living, never mind that it was Uncle Tom's living. "This is temporary," she told herself, "just until he's back on his feet." But Uncle Tom's back pain only worsened, requiring more doctor visits and potential surgery. Jade found herself working longer hours, scrimping and saving to cover both her living expenses and a portion of his mounting medical bills. Exhaustion set in, and her eyes burned from the constant vigilance behind the wheel. One afternoon, after finishing a grueling run, her phone buzzed with a text from Uncle Tom. "Doc says surgery is mandatory. No driving for months." "I'm so sorry." Jade's heart clenched. Months. She sank into the driver's seat, the city's noise blurring around her. If Uncle Tom was out for that long, how could she keep this up? Suddenly, her dispatcher's voice crackled over the radio. "Car 17, we got a pickup request at the Westbridge Private Airport. Priority passenger. You available?" Jade considered ignoring it. She was exhausted, sweaty, and hungry. But priority fares paid well, and every dollar counted. "Dispatch, this is car 17. I'm on it." When she arrived at the private terminal, surrounded by sleek black limousines and tinted SUVs, her battered cab looked downright scruffy. She brushed her dark hair into a loose ponytail, trying to appear somewhat professional. Her passenger emerged from the terminal, a tall man in a crisp navy suit carrying a leather briefcase. He exuded an aura of wealth and confidence, his short, neatly styled hair complementing sharp cheekbones and intense, dark eyes. This was a man used to giving orders and having them followed. He strolled up to her driver's side window. "Are you Jade Carson?" His voice was measured, as if he were already scrutinizing her. Jade swallowed, feeling a mix of nerves and determination. "That's me. I'm Christopher Blake," he said, flipping open his phone. "My assistant booked this taxi under my name. I need to get downtown for a series of meetings." As he settled into the back seat with practiced poise, Jade caught the slightest flicker of surprise on his face as he appraised her youth and the cab's rundown condition. Let's get going, he instructed, already busy on his phone, speaking in calm, authoritative tones about mergers, venture capital, and board approvals. Jade had no clue who he was, but from the way he talked, it sounded like he was orchestrating million-dollar deals without breaking a sweat. As traffic thickened approaching downtown, Jade skillfully navigated between lanes, mindful of the meter ticking away. By the time they arrived at a gleaming glass tower, Christopher had ended his final call. He handed her several crisp bills through the partition, more than the meter readout. Jade's eyes widened at the generous tip. "Thank you," she said, her voice kitching. "Can you wait here for about an hour?" He asked. "I have a follow-up meeting. If you're free, I'd like to use you for the remainder of the day." Stunned, Jade blinked. Sure, I can do that." And just like that, she spent the afternoon driving Christopher to 3 different offices and 1 upscale restaurant. He took calls, hopped out for quick visits, and returned without missing a beat. She kept the engine running, glancing at him in the mirror when he wasn't on the phone, wondering who this man was and why he carried himself like he owned half the city. When the final stop came, a boutique hotel in the city's financial district, Christopher opened the door but lingered, looking at her earnestly. "Thank you, Jade. You're resourceful and punctual. I appreciate that." He handed her his business card. "In case you ever decide taxi driving isn't enough." Jade tucked the card into her pocket, watching as he strode into the grand lobby, feeling as if she had gotten a glimpse of a different reality, one where money didn't strangle you at every turn. She checked the tip he'd left, enough to cover Uncle Tom's upcoming MRI test, and relief coursed through her. Little did she know, this was only the first of many strange and fortuitous encounters with the man who had come to embody the second chance she so desperately needed. As the weeks unfolded, Jade fell into a grueling routine. She woke at sunrise to help Uncle Tom with errands, then hit the road by noon for her taxi shifts, often driving late into the night to pick up as many fares as possible. The city's bright lights blurred into a continuous stream of motion, and her only respite came in the form of quick naps in the driver's seat. Uncle Tom's back issues grew increasingly dire. A specialist confirmed that without spinal surgery, he risked permanent disability. Jade's small earnings barely covered her own rent, let alone the mounting medical bills associated with her uncle's care. Each time her phone rang with a new invoice, her heart pounded with dread. One rainy evening, her dispatcher called in a panic. "Car 17, we need you at the train station, East Platform. High-paying fare, last-minute request." Jade was dog-tired, but she couldn't afford to refuse. She drove through sheets of rain to the station's curb, spotting a single passenger waiting under the neon lights. A tall figure held a sleek umbrella, and as she stepped out to help with any luggage, she recognized him through the downpour. Christopher Blake again. His eyes narrowed against the driving rain as he gave a curt nod of gratitude while sliding into the back seat. "I didn't expect you," he said, folding his umbrella. "I guess I'm the only one crazy enough to drive in this storm," Jade replied, managing a smile. "I have a flight leaving from Westbridge International in 2 hours. Traffic's brutal. Think we'll make it?" Jade glanced at the deluge outside. "We'll do our best." For nearly an hour, she navigated flooded streets, detouring around accidents and road closures while Christopher tapped out emails on his phone, occasionally casting an appraising look through the windshield. Jade gripped the wheel, adrenaline fueling her careful turns. As they neared the airport exit sign, a flash of lightning illuminated a massive truck overturned ahead, blocking 2 lanes. Cars in front screeched to a stop, water sloshing over their tires. Jade's heart hammered as she realized she had seconds to react. She slammed on the brakes and swerved onto the shoulder. The taxi skidded, hydroplaning across a slick patch of oil. Jade let out a choked gasp, fighting the wheel as they slid inches from a guardrail. Finally, the tires caught traction, and the taxi lurched to a halt with a squeal. Her chest rose and fell in rapid bursts, pulse pounding in her ears. "Impressive reflexes," Christopher remarked, his voice calm despite the harrowing near miss. Jade swallowed hard. I'm sorry. That was close. Don't apologize. You saved us from a nasty collision. Shaken, Jade watched as emergency responders arrived to clear the overturned truck. By the time the road reopened, Christopher had missed his flight. He quietly rebooked another on his phone and then asked her to take him to a nearby hotel. When they finally reached the hotel, Jade leaned her forehead against the steering wheel, relief and exhaustion mingling after the adrenaline-fueled ride. You okay? Christopher asked, concern evident in his tone. Jade forced to laugh. I think I just aged 5 years. He reached through the partition, placing another business card on the dashboard. Thank you, Jade. Seriously. If you need a real job, one that doesn't involve risking your life on wet roads, call me. She stared at the card, which now boasted a different logo. Blake Innovations, Christopher Blake, CEO. Her chest tightened at the realization of who he truly was. Too weary to think straight, she managed only a polite nod as he disappeared into the hotel, sliding the card into the glove compartment, uncertain if she'd ever be bold enough to use it. Jade's financial woes compounded. Uncle Tom's surgery was scheduled, but his insurance covered only part of the procedure. She owed her landlord 2 months back rent, and bill collectors called daily. Each waking hour found her behind the wheel, chasing fares until her eyes burned from exhaustion. One crisp afternoon, after dropping off a passenger in a posh commercial district, her phone buzzed with a landlord's ultimatum: pay within 7 days or face eviction proceedings. Hard-hammering, Jade struggled to collect herself. She still had half a shift left, but how could she focus on fares when she was on the brink of homelessness? Leaning against the steering wheel, she wrestled with a wave of despair. Then, as if summoned by fate, the dispatcher's voice rang out. Car 17, we have a specific request for Jade Carson. A Mr. Blake wants a pickup at Hamilton Towers. Jade's breath caught. Christopher again. She remembered his second business card and felt a pang of pride battling with her instincts to keep her struggles hidden. Yet, her survival instinct urged her not to pass up a high-paying fare. Dispatch, I accept the call, she replied, determination rising within her. Driving to the upscale Hamilton Towers, a glass edifice that practically screamed affluence, Jade spotted Christopher waiting in the lobby, tapping on his phone. He stepped out as she parked, appearing slightly harried. Sliding into the back seat, he discarded his suit jacket beside him. Thanks for coming on short notice. My driver is out of town and you're the only person I trust to navigate midday traffic without losing time. Jade forced a smile. Happy to help. They pulled away from the curb, merging into the sea of cars. Christopher rattled off 3 meeting locations scattered across the city, then paused, catching her exhausted expression in the rearview mirror. You don't look well, Jade. Everything okay? She hesitated, not wanting to burden him, but the painful pang of desperation twisted her gut. I'm just dealing with some family stuff and money problems, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. He studied her carefully. Is there anything I can do? Jade forced a small laugh. I don't think so, unless you can magically pay rent for me and get my uncle's back surgery covered. A hush filled the taxi, and she regretted her flippant remark. Let me know if you change your mind, he said gently, then resumed tapping on his phone, giving her space to breathe. For the rest of the drive, Jade fought off the knot in her throat. This was the second time Christopher had hinted at helping her. Could it really be that easy? Wealthy CEOs didn't just hand out money, did they? After a whirlwind of pickups and drop-offs, they parked outside an elegant restaurant. Christopher beckoned her to join him for lunch, on him. Initially, she refused, but her stomach growled audibly. All right, I'll join you, she conceded, feeling a mix of excitement and apprehension. Inside, crystal chandeliers sparkled over white linen tables, and Jade felt painfully out of place. Yet Christopher made her feel more comfortable by discussing neutral topics, her driving challenges, the best coffee spots in town, and random city gossip. Midway through the meal, he set down his fork. Jade, I want you to consider something. I've been watching how you handle pressure, your resourcefulness, your grit. I could use someone like you on my team. Officially, she blinked in surprise. He nodded. An entry-level position, perhaps in logistics or operations. You'd earn more than what you make driving a taxi, and you'd have a real path to career growth. I can't promise it'll solve all your problems immediately, but it could be a significant step up. Emotions swelled within her. Hope, fear, skepticism. I'm not sure I have the qualifications, she replied hesitantly. I value potential, Christopher assured her. Not just resumes. Think it over. If you say yes, I'll help you sort out the taxi medallion issue for your uncle. We can speak with the company and see if they can preserve it under medical leave, so he doesn't lose everything. Tears pricked Jade's eyes right there in the fancy restaurant. She had been drowning, and here was a lifeline. But she also knew how the world could be sometimes. A lifeline often came with strings attached. Why are you offering this? She asked, her voice trembling. Christopher's gaze was level. I used to be like you, struggling, hungry for a break. Someone saw my ambition and took a chance on me. I'm returning the favor. Jade inhaled deeply, her heart pounding. She glanced at her phone, noticing a missed call from Uncle Tom's doctor. Could she really walk away from the taxi right now? Could she handle a new job and still pay for Uncle Tom's care? I need time to think, she managed to say, biting her lip. Christopher nodded, sensing her hesitation. Of course, my door's open. Just don't wait too long. Opportunities have a way of slipping past when we hesitate. She managed to nod, her thoughts swirling. Was he offering her a real job or just pity? The day progressed with more stops and silent tension, but Jade couldn't shake the feeling that her life was on the verge of changing forever. As the days turned into weeks, Jade immersed herself in the new routine at Blake Innovations. She was learning quickly, grasping the intricacies of logistics and operations, all while proving her worth to a team that had initially regarded her with skepticism. With each passing project, she felt more confident. Her tenacity earned her respect, and it didn't hurt that Christopher was always there to guide her, offering encouragement and advice whenever she needed it. Their professional relationship blossomed into a deeper connection. Christopher often stopped by her cubicle to chat, asking about her day, her uncle's health, and her aspirations. He was genuinely interested, and Jade found herself looking forward to these moments more than anything else. They would share coffee breaks full of laughter and discussions about everything from childhood memories to future ambitions, and with each conversation, their bond grew stronger. Uncle Tom was recovering well from his surgery, gradually regaining strength. Jade made sure to visit him regularly, helping him with errands and ensuring that his medical bills were paid on time. The city had granted him an extended medical hold on his medallion, allowing him to reclaim it when he was fit to drive again. This relief took a weight off Jade's shoulders, knowing that her uncle wouldn't lose everything he had worked for. One evening, after a particularly stressful day filled with back-to-back project deadlines, Christopher offered to walk her out to her car. A light rain fell outside, and the city lights reflected in the puddles on the pavement. As they paused beneath a wide awning, he turned to her with a warm smile. How about dinner? Not a business dinner, just a meal for two if you're interested. Jade felt her cheeks flush with excitement. I would love that. They ended up at a cozy Italian bistro. The warm glow of the restaurant, a stark contrast to the skyscrapers outside. Over plates of pasta and shared laughter, they opened up to each other. Christopher confessed how he had once been broke, nearly losing his first startup before a mentor stepped in with funding. Jade shared her own story of fear and determination, recounting the challenges she faced behind the taxi wheel, living paycheck to paycheck. By the time dessert arrived, something unspoken, yet undeniable, had shifted between them. Their connection deepened, and Jade felt more alive than she had in years. The following weeks brought more late-night conversations and shared moments. They strolled through downtown after work, discussing everything from technology to city politics. Then came an invitation to a charity gala, where Jade borrowed a simple black dress from a coworker and pinned her hair up, her heart racing with excitement. That night, as they danced beneath glittering chandeliers, Christopher's hand settled lightly on her waist. His gaze locked onto hers, and the world around them faded away. When the music ended, they gravitated to a quiet corner, breathless with the realization that this was no mere office romance. It was something much deeper. As Jade settled into her role at Blake Innovations, she received a promotion to a junior coordinator position. She tackled projects head-on, earning respect within the company for her capabilities. Coworkers began to gossip about her closeness to the CEO, but Jade remained focused, determined to prove herself on her own merits. Uncle Tom's recovery continued, and he was soon able to walk without a cane, beaming with pride as Jade shared her accomplishments with him. Their family bond strengthened, and he often expressed gratitude for Christopher's support. One evening, Jade invited Christopher over to Uncle Tom's modest apartment for dinner, bridging the two worlds that had shaped her life. As they sat around the table, Uncle Tom took Christopher's hand and said, "Thank you, son, for looking out for my girl." Christopher's reply was simple but heartfelt. "She's changed my life as much as I've changed hers." About a year later, Jade's transformation was undeniable. She had blossomed into a confident professional, someone who held her own in meetings with senior executives. By then, she and Christopher were openly in a relationship, their connection deepening as they navigated life together. One cool autumn evening, friends and family gathered for a small, intimate wedding ceremony in a sun-dappled garden overlooking the Westbridge River. Jade, wearing a flowing ivory gown adorned with delicate lace at the sleeves, felt a rush of emotions as she approached the altar. Christopher stood there, a gentle smile lighting his face, and Uncle Tom gave Jade's arm a reassuring squeeze before handing her over. As they exchanged vows, tears spilled down Jade's cheeks, and she reflected on her journey from that first day behind the taxi wheel, how desperation had led her to the greatest gift of her life. When Christopher slipped the ring onto her finger, it felt like a promise of partnership, love, and faith in each other's potential. When they turned to face their guests, the applause was full of warmth, but Uncle Tom's cheers rose above the others, tears glistening in his eyes. Hand in hand, Jade and Christopher made their way down the aisle, ready to continue writing the next chapter of their lives together. After a small reception filled with gentle conversation and soft music, Christopher raised his glass to propose a toast. He recalled that harrowing drive in the rain, how Jade's composure behind the wheel had sparked not only admiration, but also a desire to know the courageous woman who refused to let life break her. Overwhelmed with gratitude, Jade lifted her glass and thanked everyone who had believed in them. Uncle Tom, who taught her to fight for family, her colleagues who gave her a chance to succeed, and the unexpected generosity of a CEO who saw more in her than she saw in herself. In that moment, Jade realized that her improbable journey, from terrified taxi driver to a beloved partner, wasn't just a twist of fate. It was a testament to resilience and an enduring reminder that sometimes the greatest detours in life lead us straight to where we belong. On a sunny afternoon, Jade picked up Uncle Tom from his last physical therapy session, driving Christopher's sleek company car. Ironically, Uncle Tom hobbled out on a cane, still sore but grinning ear to ear. Once he settled into the passenger seat, Jade turned to him, a smile spreading across her face. "So, how does it feel to be free of that wheelchair?" Uncle Tom let out a contented sigh. "It feels like I've been given a second chance, same as you, kiddo." He patted the seat's armrest affectionately, pride evident in his voice. "Though I might stick to letting you drive for a while." Jade laughed, navigating away from the rehab center, the radio playing softly in the background. The city streets were alive with possibility, and a wave of gratitude washed over her, for Christopher, for this new path, and for the fact that she could finally take care of the man who had sacrificed so much for her. Reflecting on her journey, Jade marveled at how far she had come. Just a year ago, she had been struggling to make ends meet, unsure of her future. Now she was thriving in her career, surrounded by supportive colleagues and building a life filled with hope and love. The challenges she had faced behind the wheel of that taxi had transformed her into the confident woman she had become. As they drove through the bustling streets of Westbridge City, Jade felt a sense of peace settle over her. She glanced over at Uncle Tom, who was gazing out the window, taking in the familiar sights with a newfound appreciation. "You know," she said, breaking the comfortable silence, "I never would have imagined how much my life would change in such a short time." Uncle Tom nodded, his eyes twinkling with pride. "Sometimes the most unexpected roads lead to the best destinations. I always knew you had it in you, Jade." Jade smiled, feeling a swell of emotion at his words. "Thank you for believing in me, Uncle Tom." I couldn't have done any of this without you. As they continued down the road, Jade's thoughts drifted to Christopher. He had not only opened doors for her professionally, but had also shown her the power of believing in oneself. His faith in her potential had pushed her to reach heights she had never thought possible. Pulling up to their modest apartment building, Jade parked the car and turned to Uncle Tom. Ready to head inside? Absolutely, he replied, his smile wide. I can't wait to show you what I've been working on in the garden. Jade laughed, excited to see his latest project. They stepped out of the car and made their way inside, where the familiar sense of home enveloped them. As they settled into the living room, Jade felt a sense of belonging wash over her. She had faced adversity, learned resilience, and discovered the importance of community and support. She was no longer just a scared girl trying to make ends meet. She was a woman who had carved her own path, surrounded by love and opportunity. With Uncle Tom's laughter filling the room and the promise of a bright future ahead, Jade knew she would never forget where she had come from. The near catastrophe in the rain, the long nights behind the wheel, and the chance encounter with Christopher had all been pivotal moments that shaped her journey. In that moment, surrounded by family and hope, Jade vowed to continue forging her path, to support those she loved, and to embrace whatever life had in store for her. With resilience and a touch of luck, she was ready to face the world and all its possibilities, knowing she had the strength to overcome any obstacle.